It's morning, so I'll say good morning, short story writers and NaNoWriMoers. I assume you're here because of the NaNoWriMo part. And this is number 4 in preparing for NaNoWriMo. And I'm going to continue the theme of the episodic novel and how you can write a series of short stories which are connected, which would add up to what would be considered an episodic novel if you want to accept this challenge. And since things like ice bucket challenges and 30-day challenge for this, that and the other are all the rage, consider the NaNoWriMo thing as a 30-day challenge, a writing challenge. Okay, so there are several ways of approaching an episodic novel. One is where you have something like in Genevieve, I think there's a How to Make an American Quilt, the Still Magnolias, all of these. There's something which connects all of the stories. So in the case of, I just like the title, The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. So I think there are 3, maybe 4 girls who they quit their school and go their separate ways for the summer, but they have this pair of jeans in common, and they each get a turn to wear them, and while they're wearing them, these things happen. So the jeans are the unifying theme, if you want to call it that, and each of the stories is quite different. Genevieve is the name of, I think it's a Rolls Royce or a Bentley, and it has 3 different owners, and it's the story of what happens. One of them is a kind of at the time very shocking adulterous affair or semi-adulterous affair, and sweet things happen in the back of the Rolls Royce or in the front of wherever in the Rolls Royce. I presume, given the station of the people, they would have had a chauffeur. So when I say sweet things, I don't mean like 2020 type of things. I'm talking about 1940s, 1950s type of things, where there were longing glances and heaving sighs and unspoken silence, unbroken silences. That kind of thing, to kind of express their love. And at the end, the owner is heartbroken, so he sells the Rolls Royce. He goes to a new owner, and so on and so forth. And there are 3 stories. A second approach would be like A Christmas Carol. Now, you're thinking, A Christmas Carol pretty much obeys the unities. It doesn't quite have unity of place, although the majority of it technically takes place in Scrooge's bedroom. And it doesn't quite have unity of time because it takes longer than 24 hours. It's more like 36 hours. Maybe a little longer, and it doesn't really have unity of action either, I suppose. But anyway, in some ways, it's a series of episodes. There are 3 going on 6 short stories. So 2 of the short stories are interwoven. There's Scrooge the human being and Scrooge the thrifty, flinty-hearted monster, sort of interweaving with each other and coming out merged at the other end. But then you've got the scene in the bank, Scrooge's bank. Then you've got his encounter with Jacob Marley, which is like a mini short story. Then you've got his encounter with each of the ghosts. And you could, I suppose, technically say that's 1 story. This is why I said there's either 3 or 6 stories. So if it's 3 stories, you count Marley in there as well. But if it's 6, then you count each of the encounters with the ghosts as a separate short story, each with its own little moral. And then the end, which is when he wakes up and he's giddy as a schoolboy and light as a feather, etc., etc., and he goes to his nephews in the afternoon, a reformed person. That's kind of the code of and he even learns a lesson there, which is that people are going to be very scared of him at first, They're going to think he's taken leave of his senses, but I've come to them, Bob. And why am I saying all this? Well, for one thing, actually, a quick diversion. When I say that a character should have a problem and by his or her or its own efforts overcome it, in this story, the main character really is the spirit of Christmas, trying to break down and restore humanity to the nemesis, which is Scrooge. Scrooge is not the hero of this story. He's quite passive. He gets shown stuff and comes to realize stuff, but he doesn't actually do very much to fight or struggle. It's Christmas that constantly is struggling with him, even when he's saying, "I'm too old, show it to someone else," and is it? Please tell me it's not too late. He's not doing anything. Show me no more, spirit, I entreat thee. He's kind of the bad guy, and as soon as he thinks it's okay, he kind of slips back. In some ways, the Bill Murray's version, Scrooge, which is a horrible film, very bleak, is more on track, because the Scrooge character in the Bill Murray film, he's completely unrepentant, and even at the end, it's only because he sees himself burning in hell, and suddenly he gets a little bit frightened. But until then, he's flippant. He's nothing like Phil Connors in Groundhog Day. Oh, Groundhog Day. Now there's a series of short stories. Okay, and Groundhog Day essentially is a Christmas carol retold. Many, 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 many. It's even got the winter theme. So it's marvelous. So if you want to pick one or the other, I think Groundhog Day. Again, Phil Connors is the antagonist, and the spirit of Groundhog Day and hope and optimism is the good guy. So that would be the other thing. A series of short stories where at the end of it, your main character comes out slightly reformed and then goes into the next short story as that new character, and again has the stuffing knocked out of him or her, or it, since main characters can be rabbits in Watership Down and robots and the like. So Ghost in the Shell, of course. So that's I'm going to leave it at there. If any more, well, there are more ways of writing episodic novels, so we'll go on to those tomorrow, because I want to beat the 8 minutes mark, and we're about to do it. And happy writing!